Right, Amber, it's great to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, actually. Thank you for having me, Adam.
No, no, you're most welcome. It's really great to have you on. And yeah, I just thought I'd introduce you and basically introduce you to see how you kind of got into what you do because you've been featured by HSBC, Waterstone, Startup Weekend. You've got an international bestseller in 5 countries, Guilt-Free Motherhood, Daily Motion, Barnes and Noble, and you do a lot of work on like social media and as well. How do you kind of get into all of this and entrepreneurship? And
Well, my journey to entrepreneurship, it's not so very different from, I think, I would say a lot of mothers who have worked in corporate and then one day realized that this wasn't for them. For me, it was almost 15 years ago, actually, waiting in the ladies' room at the HSBC HQ in Canary
mm,
Wharf. I was on the 37th floor holding a pregnancy test stick in my hand, waiting for the results to pop up on its tiny digital screen that would tell me if I was expecting a second child or not. And turns out I was. And that day, everything changed.
mm,
The steps that I took from that day onwards, the decisions that I made, was a start of an unexpected roller coaster of a journey for me personally. I knew this much at that point that nothing was going to be the same. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, what I wanted to do, or how it's all going to pan out. I just knew this much that the current scenario of working in corporate was over and something else was awaiting me on the other side.
mm. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? How like life can happen, and when you're in such a high kind of role or in work for a big company, how something like this can happen. In when you're pregnant, and then you have to kind of pivot and change, your life and your situation, and everything else, and your commitments, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, and you also have to keep that in mind. Things are different now, right? So this 15 years ago, we didn't have that flexibility, especially in a bank or in a corporate environment. We were not given that much flexibility of working from home. There was no flexibility of working from home. Even working part-time was very, very difficult to negotiate that with your boss if you had kids. So now things are different, right? So I'm sure now mothers, hopefully things are getting better for them. But at that time, I didn't have much of an option. And looking for that kind of some balance in life, I realized that maybe it's time to quit and start on that journey of entrepreneurship, which I'd always dreamt of, right? But I just, life happened, kids happened, got married, so all those things. And I just didn't know how and when I would go about it. But at that point, I decided, okay, this is an opportunity, take it and go with it. And initially, I did a lot of many different things. I started selling any and everything, basically, from household products to anything on Amazon and eBay, because that was early days of Amazon and eBay, where they had just come on into the online
Yeah.
world, and it was it's quite easy to sell stuff and for people to find your things from all around the world. And that was my start into not only the business world but the online world and online marketing world. So that was pretty much the start of it.
That's pretty awesome. And I think, as you said, like, the world and society, has changed quite a bit. And as you mentioned, like a lot of corporate companies and businesses probably wouldn't, allow people to do part time back in the day.
Yeah.
And, like, especially like working from home. And they probably, I don't know if they did work. I mean, I think only a couple of jobs really probably did working from home. And
Mhm.
now I think kind of people are more understanding and diverse and flexible, aren't they? And with the internet and marketing and eBay, I mean, it's massive, isn't it? Like, in terms of what you can sell and what you can do, and the potential reach that you can have. I think that's like definitely a great way to kind of start out, isn't it? Selling on eBay. I think it's a lot is how I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of start out.
Yeah, and I think even though it was early days, I knew that much that I wanted to have an online business. Like even 15 years ago, I was dead set on having an online business. I didn't know what shape or form it would take, but I was determined to find out. Okay, this is in there. There's this world called online world. People do business on it, and you have to learn marketing and sales and all those. So, it got me into all of those things. I joined the business accelerator. I started reading books, connecting to people like what you're doing, right? It's and you learn through that journey in a step by step. Your ideas get better, your execution gets better, and which has eventually led to me now owning marketing business called Repurpose Den, where we help entrepreneurs and purpose-led leaders elevate their game. So, it's been a journey. It's not like, one day I woke up and I was like, aha, I know exactly what I need to do, and I did it.
Yeah, that's it. It's definitely a journey, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that a process of where it's kind of step by step, and one thing leading to one thing and then to the next. And I think, like things do happen for a reason, don't they? Really, it's
Yeah.
kind of all kind of builds you as like a person. And I suppose it's really rewarding in what you're doing as well, like as CEO of like Repurpose Them, because you can work with people in companies and get to know them and help them in what they're doing. Like, kind of, can you talk a bit more about like Repurpose Them and kind of what it's about? So what it kind of involves.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I mean, the reason why I do what I do is that I've always believed in championing others, and through Repurposed, and I feel we are doing exactly that. That we champion entrepreneurs that are change makers, innovators, and purpose-led leaders. So that not just a few, but many more benefit from what they have to offer. And we do this through providing content repurposing services where we transform their thought leadership content, their ideas, their knowledge, their expertise, and make it conversation worthy, whether it's on social media or through their emails or through their newsletters, so that they're able to reach and impact a lot more many people in their own tribes.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. And I think, like with social media, and I was thinking about this recently, with social media and the society and trying to get out your message and your mission. Like, there's a lot of kind of noise, and I think there's so many people trying to do it that it can be quite difficult for people to try and figure out how to get out there and what it is that they're doing, because I think there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and there's a lot of competition. So like I think
Yeah,
it's great in what you're doing because that can help people kind of have that leverage.
yeah, absolutely. It is about leveraging, what we have, and it's the same in your life. It's not just business or content. Yes, in business, through our business, that's what we're doing. We're helping thought leaders leverage what they have into something bigger and more impactful. And that's what we do in our life as well. Whatever we are given, whatever we have, we often forget that we haven't really leveraged the power of it to its maximum capacity. Sometimes we give up too early.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think a lot of people sometimes, I can't remember what the statistics are, but it said something like sometimes people stop doing a podcast after like XYZ amount of episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it happen so many times. That's why I was quite impressed that you've started. You said you started doing this a year ago, something like that, and you've recorded like what, some 200 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, it's about consistency, right? You stay
Mm,
consistent, you stay true to yourself.
mm.
And if you give up, if you had given up, 50 episodes in or whatever, you'd never know what the kind of people you're going to meet, the relationship you're going to form, and the other opportunities that might come your way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And I think like it's true, isn't it? Because it's like if you don't do it, then you closing yourself off to opportunities and meeting like incredible people. And I was looking back at an old video I did, and I was talking about doing a podcast back sometime in January a couple of years ago. I was
Yeah.
thinking, what was I doing in that time? Like, why didn't I do it? And I think sometimes people get caught up on like limiting beliefs and fear and things like that. Would you say you kind of experienced that with clients of yours, who may be, I don't know, afraid or having difficulties in putting out content or that kind of thing?
That they were scared of putting content out there.
Yeah, or having difficulty putting, things out.
Yeah. It's okay. There are a lot of factors. With entrepreneurs, usually it is, that they don't have the time, because a lot of them are working in the business. So, that, which means that they don't have the time to think about a lot of other things that they can leverage within the business. And at other times, it's what you spoke about, the fear of what will people think about. Me or my content, who am I, what's the imposter syndrome sort of kicks in,
Mm.
a lot of points for all. I'm sure all of us have been there at that place. I was there as well myself for the longest time, thinking, what have I got to say, am I worthy enough to share this information? So yeah, we all go through those stages. I think they're natural. It's a natural process, but I guess not staying there is where the development happens, right? We have to grow out of it and step into being bold and being brave with a message and our thoughts. So yeah, I mean, I from experience, we come across people with all sorts of um, you know hindrances that are keeping them from not sharing their content, and that's where we sort of come in, I guess, to help alleviate their fears, so that they can step into their genius zone and do what they're supposed to be doing and what they're good at doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's really rewarding, by doing that and helping them to shift and grow in that process. And as you mentioned, it is a process. And, I think something that I've learned is like, a lot of patience. It takes time. And those kind of like, the imposter syndrome or like limiting beliefs and fear, it's kind of sometimes part of that process, isn't it? Because you're doing something where you're taking risks and you're pushing out your comfort zone into the unknown, aren't you? In it as well.
Yeah, absolutely,
Would
absolutely.
would you say that you have any like favorite books that you like to read or read?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've read tons of books, and I mean, some are business related, some are spiritual, and sort of guidance related. I like to read a lot of spiritual books as well.
Mm.
From business, I guess, I've read The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes multiple times. It was sort of
Yeah.
my uh, introduction to the sales world, you can say. And so the other one was Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson and 4 Hour Week by Tim Ferriss. So I mean, there are quite a few in the business genre, where, and when it comes to spiritual, sort of life enhancing books, I found Patience and Gratitude by Al Josiah. Secrets of Divine Love is quite recent by Miss Helwa. Beautiful, beautiful books. They get you. I don't know. I mean, it depends, where you are in your life, in your journey. I find reading spiritual books quite comforting,
Mm.
and to it also keeps you on the right path, I guess, because we're humans, right? Every now and then we falter, and we think, what the hell am I doing? Am I even
Yeah.
supposed to be doing what I'm doing, right? So, speaking to such people, reading such books sort of gives you that to accept yourself as who you are and know that what you're doing is right and good for other people. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, and I think I really agree with you, and I think like reading's a great way, where you can learn a lot. Sometimes you can learn things about yourself, and you can apply, things you take from books to your life. And there's, different parts, different times in your life, you can then connect with certain books and really learn a lot. And I think like spiritual books, you can definitely kind of tap into a lot as well. It's like really kind of rewarding.
Yeah, and I feel they're part of your personal development, right? I'm not the same person I was when I was 20, when I was 15, when I was
Mm,
30. So reading helps us grow personally at every level, you know.
yeah.
Not just that, I want to enhance my marketing or business skills, but like personally, I want to be a better human um, than I was yesterday or day before. And yeah, definitely these life enhancing books do that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's definitely it. And everyone's different. Everyone likes different books, and that's okay, isn't it? But business books and self development books are really key in kind of enhancing your growth. And I was just thinking as well, like, do you have any role models like growing up or now, or mentors and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this once before as well. Not many people. I would say not many people outside, I guess, Pakistan would know about him. He
Mm,
passed away a few years ago. His name was Abdul Sattar Evi, and he
mm.
was nominated for Nobel Peace Prize as well. The same time, I think Obama wasn't, and Obama won it. Obviously,
Yeah.
I was biased, and I thought that he should have won it. Um, and for great many thousand reasons, because he was a man I do not know of another man in my current living life, I'm talking about, not from history, um like him, who lived such a simple life, owning two pairs of you know clothing, two pairs of shoes,
Mm,
and a two-bedroom house, and all he cared about was giving. And he created
mm.
the world's biggest free ambulance service. That's just one
Wow.
of the things he did, right? He's got the biggest orphanage in Pakistan. He's got so many to all. I mean, the work that he has done, I do not know of anybody who's done this, starting from himself, right? Him and his wife they would find homeless people who have passed away. There's nobody to now bury them. He would find them and he would carry out their burials, his own,
Wow.
right? Amazing person. So when you are such a person, people give with their eyes closed. And this is a fact. He would, every time he would need money, because he's now building, for example, he has to build a new building for the orphan girls. They're now growing up, so they have to have a new education center. What he would do, because there was no online or funding of fundraising platforms then.
Mm,
He would stand in the middle of the road, right? And with his arms spread and balls on either side, right? And you know what?
wow. Wow.
People would just come and give. This is a true fact. Millions and millions, right, to him, just because they trust him. He doesn't need to ask for anything. People don't need to ask him any questions that where this money will be going. They know it in their heart, it's going to the right place.
Mhm.
That's how, that's what I believe, the person that shows who you are and your personality, that when you can blindly trust a person like that, that is somebody worth looking up to.
Yeah. No, that's really powerful, isn't it? And what humility and empathy that person has to care about people who a lot of people sometimes might not look at in the way that he is, if that makes sense, and to carry out those roles and helping other people and wanting to make a difference in some way. It's like I said, with your eyes closed, he's doing it.
Yeah, and he had no desire for worldly things. Do you see? We see now, we know a lot of people who give, they'll give charity and stuff, but he just didn't give charity. He just didn't give his time and money. He showed it with his life, that how, that one can live a very simple but a very, very fulfilling life. He lived a fulfilling life. How many people can say that? I mean, we know rich celebrities don't have a fulfilling life as well
Mm,
either, right? So he did something so beautiful. He had all the opportunity. I mean, he could have taken a huge salary for what he was doing. People gave him millions and millions. He was entitled to take in it, but this wasn't his agenda. This wasn't his goal. This wasn't his purpose. He felt fulfilled in the simple way he was living, and the way and the very many people he was helping. That was enough for him.
mm. It's really powerful, isn't it? Really, selfless. To
Selflessly,
just,
absolutely.
yeah, it's amazing. What an amazing person. I have to definitely look them up and look more into them. Yeah, I I think I've heard the name before, but I've never like properly kind of looked into it. That's amazing. It's important, is it, to have kind of mentors and people that we kind of like look up to draw like goodness from and kind of learn from.
Yeah, and also it gives you sort of perspective. When you're is in point in life, or when you're having those days where you're thinking, man, I need to earn more, I need to make more, I don't have
Mm,
this, I need to buy a new car, or I need a bigger house, and think, thinking about these people or the things that they're doing or the message they're spreading, it gives you a sort of perspective, and sort of shakes you into, be real. There's a lot more to life than than just dreaming for a bigger, better house or a car, and to strive just towards that. So it gives you, even though, I don't know any other person who would like him, but it's like, we at least, it gives you some perspective about how can we be a little bit better from who we are today, right? Just that.
mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm going to be like him, or I want to be like him, that I will live in with just two pairs of shoes. That's quite impossible for a woman. But uh, at least it gives me some perspective about, that, um, if I can be just a little bit better than who I was yesterday or the day before yesterday, then I know I'm making progress. Yeah. And life is all about progress. As long as we are making progress, then hopefully, we are moving towards living a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think it's so true. And I think just using that perspective, isn't it? Like changing your perspective and looking at things in a different way, and being humble about what you have, and trying to be better each day by doing little kind of small differences, and looking at other people and what they're doing really kind and hearing about other people's experiences can really kind of motivate you to do something different.
Definitely.
I think in what you're doing as well in your work, and like helping other businesses and starting out in entrepreneurship, a lot of people out there who probably want to be doing the same, but they're held by fear and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And and it also gives you an opportunity, just like it gives us an opportunity, that when other entrepreneurs invest in our services, it gives us an opportunity to give back more as well. And we do it through many of our lifetime partnerships, with charities like Beeben, Jeeben, and Kiva. But it's a cycle, right? The giving cycle doesn't stop, it keeps on going. And that's what I love about
Mm.
entrepreneurship and helping other entrepreneurs, that we can all make a difference, and together it makes a huge impact. Maybe not by
Mhm.
one person, but together we can make a huge difference.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's definitely true, and I think it's abundance, isn't it? Like the universe and the way how the world works, it's very like abundance. Like there's and what you give out, it kind of comes back to you. I find.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe in that. I actually believe that whatever you give comes back to you tenfolds. You know,
Mm.
I have seen it personally in my life, and not, people think, well, yeah, right, how does it really work, and it's not like it, it's not like you can say, oh yes, I can prove it by the number of zeros in my account, right? But it comes back in such beautiful ways that when you're having a difficult time in your life, that trouble goes away, right?
Mm.
Before it takes you down, right? And these are the results of what you did in your past, or maybe you help somebody, in whatever way, right? It's when your difficulties are taken care of, where others are still in adversity and stuff. That's where I feel that, how privileged we are, and how grateful I am that it's not like no one's life is without adversity, right? And without difficult periods in life. And it's about how we get through them, and how quickly we get through them, how quickly they get resolved. There are many a times in my personal life, and I've seen it with people around me as well, that you were in a situation where thinking, oh my god, I don't know how I'm going to solve this, I don't know how we are going to get money for this, or I'm not even sure if we can get out of this situation, and then something happens and the situation gets resolved, right? And I
Mm.
believe it's that karma of maybe something we did good in
Yeah.
previous years, and that karma helped us get out of this situation. And it's a matter of faith, I guess. Not everybody can fathom this.
Yeah. No, I see exactly. I think it's definitely true though. And I think it's so important that providing value to other people, and like making that difference and being kind to people, it comes back to you. And I remember like during the Christmas time, I was in a car park with my two brothers, and I had no change on me,
Mm.
and I was you have these crappy text and park things where you
Yeah,
have to text the number, put in your bank details, create an account, and it was freezing cold, it was raining, and I was stood outside this payment meter for like 20 minutes trying to get it working. And this guy came up to me and gave me like £1,
wow.
for the car.
Yeah.
And there was other people who were walking past, looking at me, driving
Mm.
past, and everything else. And I know it sounds really like small, but I was
Uh,
like, that's karma,
yeah.
that
That's
guy's looked at me, what's going on, gone out his way to help me, and then I think, yeah, that I'm going to want to help someone else, and it kind of works like karma.
absolutely. Such a small gesture, but you remember it to this day, and you're probably going to remember it for years to come.
Yeah,
Right? What a beautiful thing to do. And it's not about the amount and stuff, it's about how somebody came to your rescue, or whatever situation you were in, and solved that little tiny problem for you, you know?
yeah. That's it. It's powerful, isn't it? Yeah, small things are big things in
Yeah.
hindsight, aren't they? They all like add up. And I just thinking like before we round up as well, I was just thinking like how like with your the book that you did, Guilt Free Motherhood, like what's that about? And where can people find that? Like what kind of like inspired you to do that?
Yeah. I mean, it's available on Amazon. So if anybody wishing to grab their hands on, it's called
Yeah,
Guilt Free Motherhood, and it came about from my experience. I published the book actually exactly about 6 years ago, when my I was in the writing process from beforehand. It took me a couple of years to get it published.
yeah,
Right after my daughter was born 6 years ago. Actually, she was 4 months old, I think, when it was published.
yeah,
And it was different from my experience, because growing up, I come from a culture where, we were always told that, everybody else, comes first before our own well-being. As a woman, we never I thought of our own well-being. We were always giving. Women in my family, I always saw them giving, doing things for their husbands, doing things for their brothers, doing things for their kids. So their life revolved around all of these people and not around them at all, right? And as a result, I saw that such young women in their 40s, 50s have developed health issues because rightly so, they never took care of themselves, right? So they've got arthritis, they've got diabetes, they've got severe health problems because they never had the time to even think about, and others didn't make them see it either, that they come first so that they're in a better shape to look after others. And I saw, I was going on the same path when I had my kids, 2 kids, and I felt my health go down really, really bad. I was in a bad spiral, bad place at that time. And I thought, and I was so young, and I was like, this can't be right. If I'm feeling like this, what will I feel like when I'm 60 or 80, right? I'll probably be on bed all day.
Yeah.
And that's what it started me having these conversations with other moms here, and I started to get a different aspect of how other women do it, how other mothers do it. And so I decided, okay, maybe it's time I should write about how we usually mothers feel about themselves. How do they forget to look after themselves? How do they neglect their health and well-being, not realizing the consequences of it? So wrote the book, and I interviewed a lot of other amazing moms in that process as well, who are mentioned in the book, their experience and the lessons that other moms can learn from it.
Wow. No, that's really great that you've done that. You've used your experience and put it into a book. And I think I've spoken to a few people who come from different backgrounds and cultures, and I think that does happen quite a lot, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
you said, and a lot of the time, because it's maybe your family or the people you're around, you kind of end up doing that the same, and then sometimes over time you then kind of realize kind of what's going on. And I think it's really rewarding that you've done that, and you can help other people through that as well, who may be going through something similar, or the same. Because I think it definitely does happen.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the only reason I wrote the book, for that. Hopefully, if it's, and I've got messages from hundreds of moms around the world,
Mm.
but if even if just one mom was to read it and say, I get it, I know it helped me, and they take steps towards maybe changing their own life, or then I know it was well worth it, even though it took 2 years to do it, but
Yeah,
it was well worth it.
yeah. No, that's it. Definitely, it's really nice. And just want to say, like a massive thank you for accepting to come on the podcast, and it's been really great talking to you, and it really means a lot. I
My
wish you all the
pleasure.
best in what you're doing.
Only my pleasure. I'm glad you asked, and I wish you success, happiness, and fulfillment in life.
Thank you, That really means a lot, and I wish you the exact same to you and all that you're doing. And where can people find you, like on social media? And you also have a podcast as well, right?
Yep. So best place to get in touch with me is LinkedIn. My tag is at Meet Amber Khan. It's the same for Instagram, at Meet Amber Khan, and same for Facebook. But I'm most active in LinkedIn.
Mm.
I have a live show, a LinkedIn live show, which I do once a week. But you can also check out my YouTube channel, which is Sharing Ideas with Amber Khan. The podcast is about to launch.
Yeah.
So it's in the process, but you can find me either on YouTube or on LinkedIn.
No, that's awesome. And yeah, if you ever need anything for me to promote at all, I can always do that, and I'll always share your content because I really like what you're doing, and I think you're really genuine, and it's really nice. But yeah, I wish you all the best in what you're doing, and
Yeah,
I'll stay in touch.
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.